All right, so tomorrow, March 21st, I have my first rheumatology appointment. And I'm assuming that will be the appointment that will tell me if I do have scleroderma, let alone the worst possible one, which would be diffuse scleroderma or systemic sclerosis. In order to get to this appointment, it took 7 14 days for my file to be reviewed after a referral from my doctor, and I felt like I was trying to get into college because apparently I learned that rheumatologists can actually turn people away. They don't have to accept you. And that's really interesting for someone who's never been in that situation. But anyway, I got accepted. And it was another 3 weeks in order to set that appointment, I believe. It was about 3 weeks. So in total, I ended up getting an appointment for this condition probably within 5 weeks. Just letting you know. Now, I said I had an appointment with my rheumatologist, but that's not the only appointment I have. This is going to touch a little bit on employment. For my employer, I already had a restriction due to something that had happened prior, and it's been going on for maybe a few months. There was an issue with it. Now, what happened is I recently had a talk with someone high up, and the restriction was brought up. They wanted to get an update what was going on. They wanted to see one, what was happening, and two, if I could start doing work that was not really in my job duties, but they've added that on. And they wanted to know what was going on. Could they do that today? Could they put me back into that additional role today? And I told them that I had an appointment for a diagnosis. I did not tell them whatsoever what it could be, and that I would need to get paperwork from the doctor to determine, hey, is this safe or is this something I can do? In that meeting, my current restriction, or the restriction I had, was brought up, and the weight limit and such. The person started to question whether I felt like that person was questioning whether I could actually be there doing my primary role. Even though I told her I've been doing this for a while, that person was like, yeah, but is it something you can do? So I felt like because I wouldn't give in and do something that I didn't know was okay to do, they started coming after me, seeing if the current restriction could have been something where maybe I was in violation of it. No, I wasn't. No way. This is a good lesson for me personally and for everyone else who's out there. Be aware of your employer. If this is if this is how they're acting with a minor restriction or a general restriction that had been determined by my doctor and I've been working well with it, and then they start questioning it, what would happen if you decided to tell your employer, hey, I have something really serious? Be aware of how they've acted prior and see if you can get a good read about who the person is. That would be my recommendation. I'm concerned now because there's a possibility where I'm thinking, well, if I were to have the most the worst form, the diffuse, is this something where I really need to start thinking about really looking at going on disability? Because could it be that my employer is going to continue coming after me? If they were to ever find out how bad it was, they would see to it that um, it would be a difficult environment. I don't know. Some people may have better employers and some people don't. I've already seen examples of how some people were treated, and I got the feeling that it would be more negative than positive. I've seen it with other colleagues, and now it's my turn. Unfortunately, during this time, I haven't really been thinking about the disease. I understand that when I was researching and stuff, it made me feel really down. I got informed because I want to be informed before I go to the visit, but it got me really down, and I think I started ignoring it for a while. Then this meeting occurred a few days ago, and it kind of made me get smacked in the face with reality. Hey, you are going through this. You can't put your head in the sand. This is going to happen, and on Monday, you're going to find out. Unfortunately, most likely from what the numbers hold, because I can't determine it myself. I'm thinking always in the back of my mind, maybe it's not as bad as it's going to be. Maybe I read the numbers wrong or my research is wrong and it's not going to be as bad. I keep holding on to that. But not to think that I might have to consider backing myself up or defending myself with my employer, who ultimately holds my insurance that this doctor accepts, over my head, is another worry I need to balance. And you need to be aware of the situation too if this were to happen to you. Today, me and someone else I know actually took a really nice trip locally to Detroit, and we had a really good time over there. It was really nice. And I think I realized how much I had been worrying about this this visit that's coming up. And I realized how much of a difference this trip made. I didn't have to think about it for so long. That was really nice. And you need to be aware that if you can take some time for yourself, or if someone who knows someone who's suffering from this, like a family member or a friend is doing this, think about, if they can, or if you can, think about taking some time for yourself so that you can enjoy stuff. A trip, if you can do so, or going out to your favorite, restaurant, that kind of thing. Those are good options. In my situation, because of what my employer has said to me, and I'm a little concerned, and I don't know if I'm assuming, I don't want to put my head in the sand on this. I think I'm reading this correctly. I decided to get an update from my primary care physician. That would be a morning visit, and that will happen prior to the rheumatology visit, in order to see if my current restriction would still be in place with everything that's going on. Because I assume that it's going to take a while for this rheumatologist to write up his paperwork, get everything done, put it into the system, and then have that information reach my doctor for her to review it. And if they're pushing me right now to really see what's going on and see if I can actually be added to this new role or to this task, I'm going to give this person what they want. They want themselves a note, and I will do my best to get it for them. But this starts a new fight where I think it is best, if I can, to keep my mouth shut about my situation as long as I can. Now, dependent on what drugs they put me on, what treatments they put me on, that might be easier said than done. I do know that some people do take some sort of immunosuppressant drugs for this. I don't know how long I can do that. I don't know what's going to happen because I'm assuming already what they're going to give me. I can't do that right now. Right now, it's a blank slate. I don't know what's going to happen, and it's best just to enter that office and think. Just be open minded about what's going to happen. Don't assume the worst. Don't assume that you're going to get A, B, or C. That's really bad. I really thought that I would continue working in my role for a while and just keep my mouth shut about what was going on for as long as I could. My new concern is, hey, maybe I might have to look into disability as an option if they're going to treat me like this. I don't know if I'm just assuming too much, but I do fortunately have long-term and short-term disability. And if anyone out there has the opportunity to buy that, I would strongly recommend you do. Make sure you're covered. There was no way for me to know that this could have happened. This could have been happening for a very long time, but I always made sure I had the long-term and the short-term disability as an option. Always buy that. And if you know someone who doesn't think, hey, I'm so young, it's not going to happen to me, do it. Because I never thought this would happen to me myself. I will make another video later about what happened with the rheumatologist and what's going on. And I am hoping that it will be something a little more positive, even though my research and my numbers don't look very good.